Hello, my name is Pablo Requena, and in this video we're gonna see how to cut the slots in the front of the head to be able to attach the strings into the barrels of the machine heads. So in the previous videos we saw how to drill the holes for the machine heads, and I was suggesting then that we should do the holes first and then cut the slot, because as you can see, if we had the slot first and then drill through, we would have quite a bit of damage into the inside of the slot unless we made an insert to drill it through. But it's always easier if you remember that order: first the holes for the barrels and then the slot for the head. So I've already got one here done, and we're going to have a look at how to do the other one. And the first thing that I did is to lay out all the lines and all the marks that I'm going to need to be able to see what I'm doing. So what I did before I drilled this, or before I cut it, is that I transferred the position of the three barrels up in the front so that I know exactly where they are located. And then I marked the position of the slot so that it's central to the face in relation to the three holes. So basically the distance between the lower part of the slot to the first barrel is more or less the same as the distance from the top to the first barrel. I say more or less because if it's very slightly different, it doesn't really matter. But what's important is that the one in the other side needs to be exactly in the right place. So what I did was to transfer with the square the top of the slot into the center line, not all the way across, into the center line, so that then from the other side we can mark that line, and then the same down here, and then we have the area where this slot will go. So we're going to do this one now, and I have two different jigs to be able to do this job. I do it in two stages. This is the first jig that I will use, and the slot that this will cut is a little bit smaller than the final one. So in this one the slot is 12 millimeters wide by 90 millimeters long, and this jig is done in such a way that my router fits into the base so that it can only travel in a linear direction, and I have two stops so that I know exactly where the router needs to start and needs to finish. In the other side I have two blocks. This block is positioned in such a way that I have the right distance here. In this case this is 9 millimeters, and also I have marked the center of the slot. I don't know if it's easy to see, but there's a center line here that goes along there and into here and in this side to be able to locate everything properly. Now the reason why I need this jig is because it's the one that I will be using to take the bulk of the material out, and as I will be plunging into the cut while the router is running, what will happen, I don't know if you can appreciate this in my machine, but I'm sure in yours you can check it out and you will see. Basically the problem is that there is a little bit of play. So what will happen is that as I'm cutting and I'm going deep into the wood, the plate is moving, and what that will do is that it will leave some marks along the faces of the slot. So to avoid that, what we're going to do is to do the first cut with this jig, a little bit smaller, to remove the bulk of the material, and then the second cut we are going to do it with this other jig, and this one will do the final cleaning and cutting so that it's exactly the right dimension. So let's do it, and then you can see exactly how it works. So the first thing to do is to position the neck into this jig, and what I want to do is to make sure that the center line lines up with the center that I have marked in here, and I can do it over here looking at this center line that goes down into the jig and then from the jig into the head. So they both line up very well. But also, as a checkup, it should also line up at the back, and you can see that it does. Now I need to clamp this in position, and when I did the other one, this wasn't necessary, but in this one it will be, because I will be clamping into here, and I'm using this dowel to do the clamping, and if I put too much pressure, this will bend slightly and it will not have a very firm fixing into it. So I've got this insert which fits just right, and then it means that when I press in, let me get the hammer. So when I press it in, this will be pressing very nicely and it's much more secure in here. Now the other thing is that as soon as I clamp the jig into the vise, which it will be pressing in these two plates, that will also help to clamp it even further so that it's very steady. So now I can put it in my vise and I can make it quite tight, and you can see this is not going to go anywhere. So now we're going to cut the first slot. So I've got my router plugged in, and you can see that this will run up and down, and it can only go as far as the stops, and this will cut the same profile that I've got here in my jig already. The other thing that I want to do is to use my vacuum cleaner so that I don't make a lot of dust. And the next thing is to put my headphones on. And now we're ready to go. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that this was going to be a bit noisy, so I hope it wasn't too bad. Right, so now I've done the first slot. You can see that actually I was cutting a little bit at a time. I didn't cut the whole thing in one go. And even though it's come out pretty clean, let me take it out of the jig. Even though it's come out pretty clean, well, there's not so many marks really. But now we're ready to use the second jig. And what we need to do here is to make sure that, because this is the final cut, we need to do this exactly in the right place. So actually I'm going to put it in the vise because it will make it a bit easier. So I'm bringing it to the right place, and then I'm going to put this little plate in here. Okay, this is now very secure in there, and I can also put this block in here so that I can connect my vacuum cleaner. And now what I will be doing, again this is going to be noisy, so if you want to turn the volume down, that might be a good idea. But before we start, what I'm going to do is to bring the cutter out to the right level in such a way that my bearing, this cutter is really bent actually, but it does the job really well still. But basically this bearing needs to be driving on the edge of the template. So what I will do is to bring the cutter in the middle, and before I start I want to make sure that the cutter is not going to touch anything, and then I will explain a little bit more what I've done. So let's go and make some noise. So you can see that this time what I did was to switch it off, and then I won't take it out of the jig until I know that the machine has stopped completely, because if I lift it up before the machine stops, I could be cutting the jig or the head. But also if I release the lock and bring it up, that could be also a dangerous thing to do, because you can also cut the sides. So always remember to stop the machine and then lift the machine out when it's completely stopped. And now you can see that what we've done is to cut the slot exactly in the same dimension as the template, and we have a very nice and clean surfaces inside. So I'm going to take it out of the jig, and then we're going to have a look and see what we have. So now we have both slots really nicely and very accurate. There's one more job to do here, which is to cut a little ramp in the front so that the strings don't have to rest in this edge, but that will be another job for another time. And this is all that there is to it. So as usual, I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions or something is not completely clear, please send me an email. And also a little reminder about my courses, because if you have a look at my website, you will see courses that I offer in which you can come along and you will be doing these techniques with me, and you will be building a guitar for yourself. So have a look at the website, and until the next time, thank you.